Welcome back to episode 5 of the Aether Revolt set review. This time we're going to be looking at the green cards in the set. I am Incredibad Gaming.
And I'm Zmagic94.
And with that in mind, let's dive right in and look at the first card. So Aether Hurler, green, 3 colorless. It's part of the Aether cycle for all the colors. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. When it attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, create a 1/1 color server artifact creature token. So, in essence, it's kind of a hill giant, and it's weird that they didn't give a keyword to this one, I found.
Oh, like, yeah, this is the only one without a keyword, right?
Yes. So, it's kind of weird that this doesn't have a keyword. I thought it should have trample or something, or anything that's related to green, because...
It does have 3 creature types.
Which is Elf, Artificer, Druid, so that is super relevant. But yeah, I would say it's the second worst one, with the white one probably being the worst one. This feels a little like deck filler, to be honest, or if you're playing green energy.
I feel like it feels like a 1.5 to me.
I think it's more of a 2, but okay. I think that's...
Aether Stream Leopard, 2 and a green. Cat. I like cats.
So, yeah, it does in fact a cat. It's got trample. When it enters the battlefield, you get an energy. When it attacks, you may pay energy. If you do, gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I actually really like this card. This card's very good in an aggressive deck. It reminds me of the 3-drop Wolf from Shadows over Innistrad. That when it attacks, you get +2/+0.
You talk about the red one, right?
Yes, the Red Wolf. I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
No.
But it's very similar. It does very similar things, except trample is very good. So this card feels very good, giving energy. If you're green, you're probably going to be an energy. So, yeah, I think this is good. I would rate it, I think I'd rate it a 3. I think I'd want one of these, especially a common.
I think it's a good common. I think it's way better than the one you were mentioning, the red one, because it's in green, and it like being an aggressive creature in green is like less rare. I think that red card was actually not very good in that set, but I think with the trample relevancy, it's just huge. Having trample on it, it just makes it so, even if it trades, you'll still take some additional damage. Yeah, like, there's a lot of 3/2s in the set. If it trades with a 3/2, it still did 2 damage to you.
I agree.
And it's not negative energy. It gained the energy and it used it once. Like, it's a worse brawler.
Yeah, but I still think it's good. I still think it's a 3.
No, I think it is too. I agree.
Aetherwind Basker. So it's 4 colorless, 3 green. It's a lizard. It's a mythic. So this is probably the first green rare we're looking at. It's got trample. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you get energy for each creature you control. Pay 1 energy. Aetherwind Basker gets +1/+1 until end of turn. There's not much to say about this card except it's insanely good. Especially if you're in green energy. You can make this huge. Yeah, it combos off with a lot of other things too that require energy. For example, the red mythic that whenever you can pay 8 energy when you attack in order to get another additional combat. If you have 8 creatures attacking, you get infinite. You get infinite infinite combat steps. So this thing is crazy. I'd rate it like a 4, maybe a 4.5 in my opinion.
I think the only thing that puts it lower is that it's 7 mana, and it might be an aggressive format. That's the only problem with the card, is it's really expensive. If it was like a 5/5 for 5 with this ability, I would be way more sold on it.
The thing about this set, though, is that compared to Kaladesh, there feels like a lot less unconditional removal, I think. There's a few, but a lot of them are revolts.
Yeah.
So 7's powers and 7 toughness is just going to be impossible to beat. So I agree with you that if the format's really slow, it's not going to be great. But this is still, like, pick one, pack one, you take this.
Oh, yeah. I think, you still take it. I'm just saying, like, it's not like... you may get stuck within your hand. It may be, like, a Leviathan type of card. But I still think it is a solid 4. This is a bomb that is... If it lands on the battlefield, it is going to win the game.
If it ever attacks too, it's going to win the game. Just insane.
It's just so much energy. Like, all right, let's say you only have 3 creatures, right? It's still going to be at 13/13 trample.
Plus you can. It's also as enter the battlefield for energy. So if you're playing cards that flicker, you can gain more energy like that. It's just crazy. 8 from the Cowl, 2 green, 3 colorless. Revolt. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, you may put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you may put it on the bottom of your library. I don't think this is so good for 5 mana. It's kind of 5 mana, comes into play, do nothing. It's also the end step, so you have to do it at the end of your turn. And if you hit a land, it's not great. either. So I'm not a fan of it. I think it's like a 1.5 or a 2, I'd
I
say.
disagree. I don't think it's a first pick. But I think it is. I think it's like a mid. I think it's a 2.5.
You
I
think
think this
so?
card it's basically reads if something dies, it draws a card.
Okay.
Like
Or scries,
because there's a lot of permanents, even non-creature artifacts in this form, even non-creature spells in this format. Most of them are permanents, like enchantments, that sort of thing.
yeah, it's just if you want like an instant or sorcery and you see it, then you're gonna have to bottom it, which isn't gonna feel great.
But you're green, like it doesn't.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm just saying that
No,
the
it's you
small
may
chance.
put it on the bottom. You
Oh,
get
you're
to
right.
choose. It's a scribe you'd miss.
Okay.
It's actually good. Like it gets you past lands. The problem
Maybe
is activating Revolt every turn.
Yes. Otherwise, it's just a 5 mana do nothing.
Yeah, and it's
So-
only your end step and not both end steps. But I still think this is powerful. I think it's just really highly synergistic and not highly power. Sorry, it's highly synergistic and not highly powerful.
Okay, so maybe it's more of a 2 than a 1.5, but I still don't think
Sure.
I would take in most decks. I wouldn't first pick it. I would probably, if I was playing green and had big stuff, I'd probably be like, okay, I'll try it. But other than that, I don't think it's great.
Druid of the Cowl, 1 in a green. Elf Druid, taps for a green, a 1/3. Man, this card is great. It dodges a lot of the removal spells.
It's a mana dork, and so it's kind of like Servant of the Conduit, a little worse because Servant came down to give you energy. But the upside is that 3 toughness is very relevant and will stop your opponent doing a lot, and then you can ramp with it. So it feels very good, especially if you're green and you want to get to your bigger creatures.
It's also
so playing
common. You have to remember it's common, not uncommon. So it is so good at common. Like having ramp at common in your limited set. This reminds me of like just any ramp at common. It's just very good, especially when it's attached to a creature in limited.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this card is probably what you want in your deck most of the time if you're green. So it's like between a 2.5 and a 3. But yeah, it might be higher than that. I don't think it's higher than that, but it's probably closer to a 3 than a 2.5. But it's still good.
Yeah,
Still
I would
very
agree.
good.
I would agree with your assessment. I think it's so good. I think it's one of the best commons. So we've like we'll see at the end of green, but it's might go on my list for the best common of green. Like because it's something that you will always want in your deck. Like okay, sure, it's not a splashy card, but it's something you always want. You always want to go like this into Pima Outrider. Like it just and it's so much easier to get than a servant, especially now that you only have 1 pack of servant now.
Yeah, I see that. So yeah, I agree with you there.
And this is a solid sealed card as well, and you're gonna be able to open it a lot more of the time being uncommon. So I really like it.
Greenbelt Rampager. 1 green. When a Greenbelt Rampager enters the battlefield, pay 2 energy. If you can't, return Greenbelt Rampager to its owner's hand, and you get an energy. This card is very weird because you can never really play it on turn 1. But if you play it on turn 2, it's still really good. And because if you play it on turn 1, you get an energy, then the next turn you can play it again. And then...
Yeah, and again. You can play it on turn 2 if you have 2 forests.
Yes.
And I think that's just... That alone is just good enough for the card.
A 2-drop 3/4 is generally pretty good, even in limited. I don't know if it will win you games, but if you're an aggressive green deck, it's going to be very, very good.
Also, you can have crazy curves, like you can just throw this on... Instead of... You can go like 2-drop and then 2-drop this, instead of going other stuff. Like, it just... It gives you crazy curves. Like, if you go this turn 1, and then a different 2-drop turn 2, and then a 2-drop 1-drop this, like, it's very good.
This into Servant, like, for example, 2-drop Servant into 3-drop, like another green creature, and into this is very, very good. And I agree with you there. So I think this thing's like a solid 3, maybe a 3.5.
I think it's a 3.5 because it also enables Revolt.
That's very true.
I think the one thing, though, is you have to pay the 2 energy. It's not an option. So it's not like a reliable way to trigger Revolt. But early, or if you have no energy in your deck, like if you're an energyless deck and you're only playing this for energy, then you actually can trigger Revolt really easily with it. Green Wheel Liberator. Creature, Elf, Warrior. There's a lot of warriors and a lot of elves in this set. It is a rare. And it's Revolt. When a Green Wheel Liberator enters the battlefield with 2+1/1 counters on it, if a creature you controlled left the battlefield this turn. This works really well with the other rare.
The 3/4, yeah. If you get both of them, this is great.
I like this card a lot. This is the
So do
card
I.
that we misevaluated a little bit when we first looked at it in the spoiler. Because we were just looking at the bad part of the card, which is a 2/1 for 2. instead of the good part of the card, which is a 4/3 for 2.
Yeah, which could be very good. Yeah, it works with a lot of things too, I think, right? And like even if you play this on turn 3, you're still
you trade
happy.
your 2-drop and then play this on turn 3. Yeah, that's great.
There's a lot of stuff to do with this. Any of you have any bounce, this is fine. Yeah, it's really good. I think it's a good card. I would probably rate it like a 3.5 as well. But the only problem is maybe a little lower, maybe like
I think a 3 because you're not always gonna have the plus. Like, I think it's a 3, but it's a solid pickup, and I think you still first pick this. It's a solid green card that you want to go into green for.
I think it's more debatable if you first pick it. There might be a very good uncommon that's in there that I might pick over this.
Yeah,
but it depends.
If there's none of the premium removal in the set, I would take this as my first pick. But
yeah, that makes sense.
I would take the premium uncommon removal over this. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Like Fatal Push and stuff like that.
Heroic Intervention, 1 green, 1 colorless. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. I think it's very good. Usually you don't want to be playing too many pump spells, but this kind of pump spell can blow at your opponent a lot, and because it does not targeting anything, they can't really interact with it very well either unless they have a counter. So
it's also
I think
super versatile too. Like, this is not an early pick for sure. I don't think. But it's super versatile. It protects your guys in more ways than one. Like, it's a combat trick that blows out people, but it also just protects your guys.
Yep, giving them hexproof, giving them indestructible. Just those are 2 keywords that are just insanely good. And the fact that they both are on this card for 2 mana at instant speed feels very unfair. I feel like this card's like a 3, probably, maybe a 3.5.
I think that's lower because it's only a trick. Because
I think this is probably maybe one of the best, if not the best trick in the set.
Well, it's the best trick, but it's a rare trick. Rare tricks are not very good. Okay, so rare tricks are good because they blow out opponents a lot of time because they're not playing around it because they shouldn't. But rare tricks are bad because you barely ever get them. But when you get them, it's insane. I mean, yes, it's probably the best green trick. I mean, it should be the best green trick.
Yeah.
It's probably only a 2.
I don't think so. I think it's higher than that. Because it's rare, you're not going to see it that much. But if you're evaluating the card purely from how powerful it is, out of 5, it's a pretty solid 3 because of just how good it is.
Okay, that's fair. Hidden Herbalists. 1 in the green. Human Druid, 2/2. Revolt. When Hidden Herbalist enters the battlefield, if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, add green to your mana pool. Reminds me of Burning Tree Emissary.
Yes, I was thinking of the name. I knew exactly what it was, but yeah, it does remind me a lot.
It's like Burning Tree Emissary, but way worse.
Yeah.
It's way worse than Burning Tree Emissary. Burning Tree could be cast off of red or green, and it could fix your mana, and didn't need to revolt. And there was so much Burning Tree was doing.
Yeah, but at the very worst, this is a 2-mana 2/2, which is not the worst, but if you ever find a way to turn this Revolt on in turn 2 or turn 3, it's kind of as a free 2-drop. So at the low end,
it's actually just free.
Yeah. At the low end, it's kind of like a 2, but if you ever turn on Revolt within the first few turns, then it's probably like a 3, right?
Right, because you could just go, like, let's say you turn 2, you trade your 2-drop for their 2-drop, and then you turn 3, you play this and a 3-drop. That's just insane.
That's a lot of
so
power
much tempo.
Board. So yeah, so if you can turn in Revolt on like turn 3 or even maybe 4, it's probably like a 3. But if you can't find a way to do that, then it's just a 2-mana 2/2. So it's like a 2 or 2.5, just because that's kind of where I would put any 2-mana 2/2. High Spire Infusion, 1 green, 1 colorless, instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. You get 2 energy. So this is a pump spell.
It's the classic giant growth variant. So what R&D likes to do, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts about this actually, about like R&D development. What R&D likes to do is they like to take classic cards and make spins on them. And this is just like your classic spin of add a mana on giant growth and make it to reduce 2 energy. I think it makes the card so much worse.
I don't think the card's not bad.
It's not bad, it just makes it so much worse than giant growth.
Yeah, the difference between 1 mana and 2 is great, and the addition of 2 energy is usually not going to be super good. Sometimes it's okay. But like at instant speed, you're usually not going to want to need that energy because a lot of the stuff.
I think this card's great though.
A lot of the payoffs come from when you attack, right?
Yeah, so, but it doesn't matter. Like you can just use the energy later. I think this card's very solid.
No, so do I. I'm just saying some of its downsides, right? I think it's like a 3 or 2.5. It's a common too, so this is definitely a common that I'd probably play in a green deck if I was playing a pump spells. And if you're playing green, you're probably going to be playing big creatures or big creatures. So
I mean,
yeah, I like it.
It's better than Reach in my opinion. The ornamental Reach.
Yeah,
and Pummeler is in this. Oh yeah, Pummeler is still 1 pack. So I think this card's sweet. Like, it's an instant speed trick that gets you out. It also gains energy for the green deck that you're probably using energy in, because green is very energy heavy.
Yep, I think it's good. I think it's a good card.
Lifecraft Awakening. X green, instant, uncommon. Put X 1/1 counters on target artifact you control. If it isn't a creature or vehicle, it becomes a 0/0 construct artifact creature. Now, this is where I think becoming a creature when it is an vehicle, I think, is really insane.
Even if you have a really good vehicle and you play this for 2, yeah, because then you put one plus one counter on a creature.
Oh, so if it's a vehicle, it doesn't actually become crude. It just you can just put it on.
Yeah.
You can just put it on like a module or something.
Yeah, you can put it on. You can put it on like a prism even, and the prism becomes something, right?
That's so weird.
It's a very weird card, right? It has to be target artifact. So you can pump it. You can pump a servo with it if you really wanted to at instant speed. If you have artifacts that like aren't doing much, like a prism, it doesn't do anything right now. You can make it a creature.
I think this card is super blowouts.
But if you put this on a vehicle, it's very good, right?
Well, it doesn't actually make the vehicle a creature forever.
It doesn't. Oh yeah, this is really weird. This is a really weird card at uncommon. I think it's good.
Those cards insane. This card's just blowout city. Like. This card, every time you're casting it, is a blowout. And the later in the game you cast it, the more the blowout it is.
The only thing it doesn't do is, if you don't have an artifact, it just does nothing.
Yeah, but I think there's like such an increase in artifacts. Also, green-black is so counter-centric in this set. This is like the perfect green-black card.
I agree with you. If I'm green-black, I think I take this. I think it's a 2.5. That's just me. If you think it's better than that.
I think the artifact downside is it. But it's also counters, so it stays for turns.
Yep.
You could just get a permanent 6/6 for 7 mana, or a permanent...
Yeah, I think it's a solid card. I'd probably play 1 in my deck, to be honest. Lifecraft Cavalry, 4 colorless, 1 green. It's got Trample. Lifecraft Cavalry enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn. This is a crazy good card. It's got Trample. Even a 5 mana 4/4 Trample is okay, but if you ever trigger Revolt, a 5 mana 6/6 Trampler is out of this world.
Better Rhino?
You mean Tiger?
Tiger, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, it's also cheaper to cast.
It's a splashable Tiger.
It's cheaper to cast. The only thing is you have a Revolt, but Revolt seems very easy to trigger this set. So this is probably like a solid 3.5. This is like a card that you want, and it's a common too.
This is really good.
Yeah.
Like you already have ramp guys in green, like. And this guy if he's triggered, he's insane because he's a permanent 6/6. He's not Tiger that only attacks once as a 6/6 or as much energy as you have. He's a permanent 6/6 for 5.
Very good. Very good.
His downside is he's a permanent 4/4 trampler for 5. That's still just his vanilla test without Revolt is fine.
Yep. And even if you have a Ramper, which there are Rampers in green, if you play this on turn 4 somehow with Alpha the Druid, or the one that was from before, you play this on turn 4, you find a way to do that, or turn 3 even. There is a way you can play this on turn 3, I think.
Yeah.
I might be wrong. But even then, if you play it on turn 4, it's still a 4 mana 4/4 Trampler is very good. So this card starts at like
3.5, yeah.
Yeah, easy 3.5. This is a very good card. This is a card you're going to want in your deck. You probably want 2 of these in your deck.
Yes. I like it better than Tiger, so... And Tiger I liked a lot, so... Lifecrafter Gift. 3 in a green. Instant, uncommon. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, then put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. This card is like... feels like a preprint to me.
This card has a lot of interesting text in the fact that you get put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, then put a +1/+1 counter.
So, vanilla is just... A creature gets +2/+2 counters on it?
But... if you're in any sort of green-black...
This card existed before, and it was so bad.
But it was different. I believe it was 3 mana, just put a +1/+1 counter creature on each creature you control with a counter on it. So it did nothing if you didn't have any counters on it. This actually will always be guaranteed to be 2 +1/+1 counters. So there's a difference. It's a little more expensive, but it's still always guaranteed for it to do that.
Right. It is a good trick, though.
Malthus Revolutionary. 1 colorless, 2 green, trample. When Malthus Revolutionary enters the battlefield or dies, for each kind of counter on target permanent or player, give that permanent or player another counter of that kind, and it's a 3/3. This card's very good. Passes the vanilla test with flying colors. It's a 3/3 for 3, and also has trample. But then its ability can be very good if you're playing energy, can be very good if you're playing counters. It works when it enters the battlefield, so if you have any flickers or bounce, you can keep casting this thing to keep giving stuff energy. Or even when it dies, it also triggers. So this thing is very good, really good green common.
It's only one creature though, right?
Yes.
But it happens twice.
Yes, exactly. Or more if you can bounce it. Plus, you can also give yourself energy with it.
Right. This card's like always going to do something. It's either going to give you 1 energy or it's going to give a creature bigger.
Plus, it's a 3 for Trampler on turn 3, which is generally pretty good. So I think this card's like a 3.5.
Oh, that's another warrior. There's like a warrior theme going on.
I think this card's like a 3.5. I really like it. I think it's a great green uncommon.
Monstrous Onslaught. 3 and 2 green. Sorcery uncommon. Monstrous Onslaught deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control as you cast Monstrous Onslaught.
This has a lot of words. I'll start off by saying that. This thing can be good, but I don't know how good. It's a sorcery, which makes it way worse. But if you have like anything big that's like 5,
it's not. You probably this card's so bad.
You probably need something that's like 5 or 6 power on the board, and if you top deck this with nothing on the board, it's just horrible. So yeah, I think this card's really bad. I think they're just better options.
Just the worst hunt the week. I mean, you can distribute it and kill a bunch of servos, but like, it's just not a removal spell that's getting you from behind. It's like it's a removal spell that when you're already ahead, you're just going to smash them more. This is one of those spells like the win more cards, not the I'm removing an important thing. You can't remove something that's bigger than any of the creatures you own, which is like not a good removal spell.
Yeah, I think this is like a 1.5, to be honest. Narnun Renegade, 1 green, Death Touch. Narnun Renegade enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn. This thing is really, really good. This is the type of 1-drop you want to be playing. First of all, you've got Death Touch. Death Touch just trades with anything. And then number 2, if you can ever activate Revolt, a 2/3 Death Touch is crazy because then you just start trading with all their 2-drops or all their 2 toughness, 2 power stuff.
This is nutty.
It's really good. So this thing is like a 3.5.
Death Touch in green, and it's another Elf Warrior. Like all Elf Warriors. This is nuts.
This is really good. Take it.
Natural Obsolescence. Yeah, all right. 1 in a green. Instant. Put target artifact on the bottom of its owner's library. This is like the one that shuffled it in, but even better.
Yeah, this is good sideboard tech, I think. And you might main deck one of these. So yeah, I think this card's playable. I think this
card's main deck playable.
Yeah, I think this card's like a 2.5.
They'll never see the card ever again.
No, I think this card's a 2.5 easily. I'd play 1, maybe 2. And I'd like to have another one in my sideboard if they're very artifact heavy.
Super good. It doesn't destroy enchantments, so it's not as versatile as like Appetite, but it's really good.
No, but it's like I said, you want to play 1, and then you can play a second one if they're very artifact heavy. So yeah, versatile. I think it's like a 2.5. Pima Aetherseer, 3 and a green. When Pima Aetherseer enters the battlefield, you get an amount of energy equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Pay 3 energy. Target creature blocks his turn of Fable. This card can be really good, and it can also be really mediocre / not great, right? Because when it comes into play, if you don't have a big creature, at most you're gonna get 3 energy, and something has to block. If you are playing energy and you need energy, it's gonna be good.
I don't know what you're talking about. This card's insane.
I think sometimes it's not going to be great.
I think this card's insane all the time.
I disagree a little bit. I still think it's really good, but I think that sometimes it's not going to be great.
It always gets at least 3 energy. Here, this is the baseline of the card. Get 3 energy, attack with something, and then force a bad block. It's great for board stalls. Oh my gosh.
That's true. That's true.
You just kill their like best thing, like because you just have to make it force. Like you attack with your 6/6 and then force their bad block. Like you force the creature that they don't want to die to block.
That's true. Okay, I can see it.
This card's really good. It's also gain 3 energy baseline. Gain 3 energy, 3/2 for 4.
Yeah. Okay.
With it a very very relevant ability. This card's very strong.
Prey Upon, 1 green. Target creature control fights target creature you don't control. This thing is a classic, printed many times. Almost every time it's been printed, it's generally very good. It's probably going to be very good here. It's usually going to be one mana removal spell in green. So I'd probably rate it like a 3. You're probably gonna want one or two of these in your deck if you're playing green.
Yeah, the card's great. Also, the art, top notch.
Definitely top notch art. Other than that, there's not much to say about Prey Upon. I think
Best Prey Upon art I've ever seen. Ridge Scale Tusker, 3 and 2 green. Beast, uncommon. When Ridge Scale Tusker enters the battlefield, get a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. For 5/5. This is insane and goes solo with so many of the cards in green.
This is so good.
How is this uncommon? Okay. This is
really
just such
good.
a good uncommon. It's a 5/5 for 5. Already passes the vanilla test. I'm so sorry. This card is dumb. This card is just stupid.
This card might be like a 4.5 at uncommon because yeah, it's
this card's a 4.5 for sure. This is like the sickest uncommon. This is the bomb. This
with the 4 mana instant that puts counters on everything is insane because you can do this that turn and the next turn you can put
green is
counters
so
on everything.
Strong. This is stupid. Like really how is this okay? This swings the entire game.
Yeah, this unpacks the board so much most of the time. It's like at the worst it's a 5 and a 5/5 if you have nothing else, but generally on turn 5 you should have something, right? So this thing is insane. So yeah.
Green was already the best color in Kaladesh, and it gets better with Aether Revolt. It's just it's just like why?
What's your rating on this? 4.5? 4?
4.5. Like it's pushing 5.
So Rishka Pima Renegade, 3 mana, 2 and a green. When Rishka Pima Renegade enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Each creature you control with a counter on has tap, add a forest to your mana pool, and it's 2/2. This thing is really good. It's a legendary creature. It's an elf and a druid. Yeah, you put counters on. You've already seen a lot of green stuff with counter interaction. You can ramp with it. So if you play a 1-drop into a 2-drop, for example, and you play this, you can then have 6 mana available to you on turn 4, which is crazy. This thing is
insane. This card is right. This is like a bomb.
This is insane.
It's only not a bomb because it can't win the game itself.
No, but if you have 2 other creatures, this thing's insane. This thing allows you to play
into 7-drop.
Yeah.
Oh no. Sorry. This is only a 3-drop. Oh,
this into 6-drop you can play.
Right. And also, there's so many other things that just get counters anyway. This is just.
There's a lot of counter interaction. This is like a 4. This is a solid 4. This is the first pick, and you just build around this card.
Rishkar's expertise goes with Rishkar. 4 and 2 green, sorcery, rare. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. If those order was reversed, it would be insane. Mm-hmm. Because of the order, it's still real good.
It's still pretty good.
It would be insane if it was the other way around.
So being able to cast anything for 5 or less is crazy good because you're just gonna have a lot of big, powerful stuff with 5. Sometimes it's just gonna draw 3 to 6 cards.
What's like low ball? 6 mana is like so. Like let's low ball it. Let's say you have 3. You're in a board stall. You have a bunch of like 3 power guys. Drawing 3 cards and playing a free card after you've drawn a good card is actually pretty good.
Yeah, and it only goes up from there because you might want to play something on turn 5.
Oh, you actually might draw something you want to play. That's fair.
You might play this on turn 5 too, and that's true too. So you can play this on if you ever play that 4/4 or who turns into a 6/6 common druid. Then you play this. You draw 6 cards and then are able to cast probably any of those 6 cards for free, which is insane. Scounging Band are 1 and a green. Scounging Band enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of +1/+1 counters from Scounging Band onto another target creature. This is an interesting card. At the worst, it's a 2 mana 2/2, which is fine, so it's a bear. However,
it's a 2 mana 2/2 that also makes a flyer lighter.
Yeah, yep. But if you ever get anything where that puts counters on stuff, you can move stuff around. Yeah, it's basically a really good bear. It's a common. I think I would want this in my deck. I think I'd want 1 or 2 of these in my deck.
A lot of the time, you'll make the bear and then move 1 counter over.
Which is fine. I think this card is very good. I think you'd probably want 2 or 3 in this deck. So I think it's a 3. I think it's a solid common.
Very really good uncommon. Sorry, a really common in the green-black deck. It's also great in green-white. It isn't as great in green-blue.
Or green-red, but still, it's fine. I think it's fine. I think it's good in almost every green deck. I still think that this is probably a 3, and you'll probably play 2 or 3 of these.
Silkweaver Elite. 2 and a green. Elf Archer, reach 2/2. Revolt when Silk Weaver Elite enters the battlefield. If a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, draw a card. This card's great. It trades with every flyer. It blocks Stopters without even trading. It also just draws a card. It says anything that says draw a card in green is very strong because green can't draw cards very easily. Green runs out of things to do and has way too much mana. Look at that. We get a reach, super important, and we also get a draw card. It's another good uncommon. I almost said uncommon. It's another good common for the green deck. Green decks, commons and uncommons from Kaladesh and Aether Revolt combine super well. Very good. It just like you just have so much synergy. You also just have so much raw power. The decks are going to be so good. Like
very good. I think it's very good too. There are some bigger flyers in this format now. Though, if we've seen in blue and white, there's a 4/3s and some 3/4s, and there's even a 2/3 for 3. So I don't think it's going to kill everything, but this is generally a good card, and I think you're generally got 1 or 2 to stop flyers. So I think it's like a 3.5, just because drawing a card is very good. You're probably going to want to play 1 or 2 of these. Unbridled Growth, 1 green, Enchant Land. Enchanted Land has add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, sacrifice Unbridled Growth, draw a card. This thing is okay if you need fixing. I mean, it allows you to be able to splash anything, and then if you play that card and you don't need that type of mana anymore, you can draw a card later on in the game to replace itself. So like, I mean, it's okay.
I think
it's like a 1.5, maybe a 2 if you want to splash a 3rd color. But if you're playing 2 colors, there's no reason to play this.
I don't know. The card's fine. Like it's just a cycle.
That's what I mean. It's okay.
No, it's actually insane. You play this in every deck. This is
Why?
It triggers Revolt.
That's true, but if you're not playing a Revolt deck, or if you don't have that many Revolt cards,
it's just a cycle. It's a cycle that triggers Revolt.
I think it's okay. I think I'd only play it in 3-color decks.
I would play this in a 2-color deck.
Yeah, so that was green. What did you think of green? Personally, I thought that green was very interesting. There was a lot of good commons, a lot of good uncommons, a lot of good rares. I think of the 6 colors that we've reviewed so far, I have to have a green number 1. I think by far green is the best color here. It does very well in energy, does very well in aggressive decks. It just does very well.
I think green is the best color. I think it's lacking in the amount of amazing rares it has.
I don't know. It has the
it has
big
some
lizard,
amazing rares, but some of them are just. I guess it has a lot.
The 1 mana elephant.
Yeah,
you know,
that's fair. That's fair.
I think the rares are really good too. So like, I think the rares. I think everything makes it the best color. I think it's not.
Sure.
I think it's far and away the best color. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 5, the green portion of the Aether Revolt set review. Once again, I'm Incredibad Gaming.
And I'm Zmagic 94.
And if you like what you saw, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. You can also find me on Twitter at Incredibad_game or on Twitch at Incredibad_gaming.
And you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Zmagic94. You can also find other great content just like this at teamnfgbot.com.
Join us next time in episode 6 where we look at the multicolored cards in the set. See you guys next time.